In section 4.8, we're going to talk about congruent polygons and corresponding parts. So when we talk about congruent figures or congruent polygons, we're talking about figures that have the same size and shape. So that is important. Size and shape are the same when we talk about congruent. Congruent polygons also have congruent parts. So what that means is that if we have a triangle, those congruent triangles, those three angles are going to be congruent to each other. So let's look at an example. We have a congruent polygon where we have a shape like this, and then one that's it's the same exact shape. We know that this one is the same as this one. So by congruent parts, I mean that this side is congruent to this side, this side is congruent to this side, these two sides are congruent, and this fourth side is congruent. So if we call this polygon A, B, C, D, and this polygon E, F, G, H, we can list our corresponding sides below so we can see that AB is congruent to EF. Got the bar over the top to tell me it's a segment or a side, and this symbol here means congruent. That is our congruent symbol. Okay, so that's our first pair of sides, AB and EF. Then we have AD is congruent to EH. DC is congruent to HG. And finally, CB is congruent to GF. So those are our corresponding sides. So that's what it means up here. Congruent polygons have congruent corresponding parts. And then the corresponding angles, we have angle A would be congruent to angle E. Angle D is congruent to angle H. Angle C is congruent to angle G. And angle B is congruent to angle F. So those are our corresponding angles in those congruent polygons. So then to write our final congruent statement for these two figures, we would write polygon A, B, C, D is congruent, I'm going to write our symbol, to polygon, and now I have to make sure my angles line up. So A goes with E, B goes with F, C goes with G, and D goes with H. So this is our final congruent statement. So now let's look at another example. We have these two figures. We have a triangle like this and a triangle like this. We're going to call it A, H, T, and F, I, B. Okay, and then we have this angle is congruent to this angle. I'm still writing our given information down. This side is congruent to this side, and this side is congruent to this side. So if we were to write a congruent statement for these figures, we have to make sure our angles and angles match up. So if we have triangle HAT is congruent to triangle, we know H matches I, and then A here is on the side with one dash, so that would mean A is congruent to B, and then T would match F. So that's our congruent statement for these two figures. This next one, you have to draw the figure as well. So we have something that looks like this. We have C, B, F, D. Point M is in the middle. M is the midpoint of BD. And they tell us these two sides are the same, these angles are the same, and these angles are the same. So if point M is the midpoint of BD, we know then that this side and this side are the same. So to line up these triangles, we look at triangle CMB. First one we can write in any order. We can see that C matches F, and then we can see that angle M here matches itself. Oops. And then B matches D. So that is our congruency statement for those two.